Some of
No,
them
no, okay, keep going.
Those are all on these.
there are different switches though.
There we go.
So you're going to overcome the objection, whatever it is that they talk about, whether it's time, whatever the case may be. You want to definitely ask them. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. After you kind of come to another point, you're going to want to lead them, because what's important when you close an OP is to make sure that you're being confident. Okay, you are the person in control. You are not allowing them to control you. I think from one thing that I see oftentimes from newer jewelers, and this is something you take back to your teams, or maybe something that you know may be an area of improvement that you need to work on, is taking the lead. You try to feel bad, and you're like, oh, I don't want to pressure them, all these kinds of things. And so what you have to do is imagine that you're not being any kind of pressure on them. You are simply taking the lead and you're teaching them what the next step is. And when I'm sharing or doing the OP at the end, it is always my job at the end to tell them what is next, because they don't know. They're not jewelry ladies. They don't know what to do. So after I go through all of the information, I go through their objections and try to work through all their objections. Maybe if they're still not saying to me, yes, sign me up, I want to do it. Then I'm going to give to them a little bit of information. I'm going to say, all right, well, just so you know, about 85% of the decision to come into Premier is all based on the financing. Can I come up with the financing? So my suggestion is, let's just go ahead and apply for the financing. It doesn't sign you up to be a jewelry lady. It's very, very casual, very low key. It's actually really pretty easy. We just put in, your name, address, social, blah, 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 and we'll know if you can get the financing. Now, if somebody can take 85% of the decision making off of your plate, wouldn't that just make it so much easier? Yeah, it would. So as soon as I say that, they go, okay, and they apply for the card. Okay, that is one of the things you absolutely want to try to work for at the end of an OP, is to get them to apply for the financing. So I go through and I go ahead and do the financing right then and right there. After I go through the financing, then if they were approved for the card, then I say, well, there you go. 85% of your decision is done. What do you think? And I stop talking and I wait. I wait to see what they think, because the more what happens is there's a silence where they start thinking and we get nervous. And we're like, well, you don't have to make a decision right now. You can just decide later, blah, blah, blah. Don't say that. Give them time. Let them make the decision. Okay, if you just stop talking and wait, they're going to come to the decision that really needs to be made. Okay, and you'll find that more often, if they get the financing, they're going to go ahead and sign up right then and right there, instead of waiting to come back later. There is an occasion where that is not the scenario, but that is oftentimes the way it happens. Also, if you cannot get them to do the financing, you want to say, okay, then what we should go ahead and do is at least schedule a date for your show. Whether this is a training show or a regular show, I want to get you on my calendar, because my calendar books up very quickly, and I want to make sure I have a date for you. So worst case scenario, you just get free jewelry. Best case scenario, you get free jewelry and some extra cash. So what works better for you, a weekend or a weeknight? Again, I'm not asking them, do you want to schedule that show? I say, the next step is to schedule a jewelry show. Here's why, blah, blah, blah. What works better, day, or night, or weekend? Okay, so you don't want to give them the option. You just say no. Because you are being in control and assertive within your sponsoring. That's the basics of how I close an OP. I would probably venture to say when I do an OP, almost 80 to 90% of the time, they apply for the card, like right there and then. Also, one thing I do as well is I make sure that I keep the ball in my court. I do the application for them. So if they're on the phone with me, I say, all right, great, you know what? I'm actually at my computer. If you just want to feed me the information, I'll log it in real quick and we'll see what happens. Because I don't want to give them, okay, well, here's my jeweler number, and go to this website when you get home, and when your kids aren't screaming, and when your husband doesn't need you, and when you don't do laundry, and all the things that are going to happen to her in her life. When all those things are good, go on this website and apply for the card. Again, I want to keep the ball in my court, and I want to make sure that I'm helping to move it along proactively. Do people ever get crazy about it? Every once in a while. Not often. Actually, I'd probably say only one jeweler in the last years has said to me, once we started the process of me putting in her information, she just was like, you know what, is it okay, can I get on the computer and do it because I've had my identity stolen and I just feel more comfortable? I'm like, sure, no problem at all. I'm not going to force her. I said to her, I'm just trying to make it a little bit easier for you, but knock your socks off. And she was at home and was able to log on right then and right there, and I walked her through it. So if you cannot do it at a computer, walk them through it. Okay? Don't just give them your jeweler number and say, go, be free. Because they will, go be free. And not with you. It is important to always try to drive them to applying for the financing. Though one last thing I want to say before I turn it over to how Julie does her the closing of a one-on-one is I just want to say to you that follow-up is one of the most important things that you can do with sponsoring, because if they don't get the financing, and we're going to talk about this stuff in the morning, if they don't get the financing or they don't apply for the card or whatever the case may be, if they're not comfortable enough to move to the next level with you, you have to follow up with them. Okay? The biggest part of business is follow-up, and that is a decision that we make in our business. It's a decision to succeed. I know for me, and Julie and I were talking about this, for me, I look at sponsoring as a decision, not as, oh, I'm lucky, or, oh, I tried really hard, or whatever. If you decide to sponsor, you will sponsor. Mm-hmm. Period. You just have to make the decision. If you decide to not sponsor, you're not going to sponsor. I know for me, in the last year of my life, I've had a lot of personal stuff going on, and I chose not to follow up, and I chose not to do what I normally do, and my sponsoring wasn't as high as it normally is. So that is something that I go, wow, I'm doing all the same stuff, I'm just not following up. So I know that when I choose to follow up, man, it's good. It's really good. So it doesn't matter how you put the wrapping paper on it, it's just a matter if you make the choice to succeed. All right, I'm going to turn to you for her.
And we talked about that. One thing, just to drive home. You know, you've been watching Nancy. She's very gifted. She has high sponsoring rates. Yet, when she took her eye off the ball, her sponsoring went down. And so, what we wanted to drive home was, a lot of times people will look at people like us that consistently sponsor all the time, and they excuse their lack of sponsoring by saying, well, you're just gifted at it. Well, you're just good at it. Well, you just know what to say. Okay, it's really that we just follow up. We just actually say it. We just actually talk. And so you just need to know that we can teach you all the things to say. You just need to actually do it. Okay? So I want to tell you what I do to close my one-on-ones. And it's a system that I think you can all do. It's really, really doable. It's kind of like a mouse cookie. Okay? It's like the same kind of thing. I use the video a lot, even when I'm going to do a one-on-one. So back to Angie again. I'm going to use Angie. I meet her at a show. She's asking me all those questions. She's really interested. I set a date with her tomorrow to meet for coffee, because you want to do it within 24 hours. And I say, hey, Angie, we're going to get together tomorrow. We're going to talk. Now, I think it would be really great if you could go home tonight and watch my video so that we can get together tomorrow and just go over all your questions. It'll eliminate me explaining everything. Well, when that happens, it's phenomenal. Like, when I first started to do this, I was like, oh, this is fabulous. Because they cut my OP in half. I didn't have to go through all the, $3.95, I just cut to the chase. So here's what the chase is. On that paper that I showed you on the screen before, it has questions on the back. Now, I have my master's in education, so I was the packet queen. I understand how to pull information out and the importance of you writing it down. So there's some key things that they write down, some numbers and stuff, but it's really hiding what I really want to know, which is, what is your concern? What is your hesitation? What is your level of interest? And at the bottom of the paper, it's come up with 6 women in your life that you could ask to do a show. So I get that piece of paper. So Angie and I meet, and I get that piece of paper. I look directly at that number and right above it what her hesitation is. So I see her interest level is a 7, an 8, a 9, a 5, whatever it is. And I immediately go to that hesitation. She's written it down. So for her, the hesitation is not money, but instead it is time. Now, if I expected that every person's hesitation was money, and I spent all that time talking about money, 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 and she's like, okay, you know, I've got that, and we waste all that time, we don't talk about her problem. I'm focused on what I'm worried about talking to her about. I'm totally missing the problem. So I'm going to look at that in its time. I'm then going to talk to her about time. I'm going to show her how I only do shows 2 days a week. I pick it. I sit down with my husband. I select the days that I can work. It creates a rhythm. Instead of going to bunco, you're going to do jewelry. All right? And so then I answer that question. I come right back to her. What's your number now? And she goes, I'm an 8. I gained a point. Awesome. But you know what? You're an 8. You're not a 10. You've honestly got another hesitation. What is it? Okay, now she's going to tell me. Yeah, well, I'm a little worried about whatever she comes up with. You talk about that. And you come right back to her and you go, so how'd I do? What number are you now? And she goes, I'm a 9. Okay, you know, well, what can I do? You obviously have something else holding you back. See how I'm just going to, the number, the hesitation. The number, the hesitation. And I'm going to just keep doing that until she goes, I'm still an 8. Okay, I'm an 8. All right, so we're done. Okay, because I can't move her anymore. As long as she's dancing with me, then we'll just keep going with the wiping out. Okay, so we dealt with that one now. Now we dealt with that one. She gets ultimately to the end and she says, you know what, I'm like a 9.5, but you know what, I gotta talk to my husband. Aaron, you talk to your husband, have him watch the video, that would be great. Right. And can I call you tomorrow? Okay, so I'm gonna follow up with her, and that would be a great time to then say, you're a 9.5, let's just get the financing worked out so you can go home with your husband and tell him that you got the financing and everything. So I wrote this up in case you wanted to just,
I don't know why it's not talking.
okay. All right, it's still not, we don't know why. Okay, so all I did was I just wrote up, ask them on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your interest level in selling Premier? Say, great, well, what's your hesitation? What is making you a 7 instead of a 10? Discuss that objection and repeat. So it's like, you know, rinse and repeat. So it's number, hesitation. Do you think it'll work now?
I'm not, I can see it, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. So the number, the hesitation, repeat. Number, hesitation, repeat. Does that make sense? Is that doable? So even if they don't watch the video and I sit down and I do the OP and I use that same flip chart and I walk through, at the end I say, okay, so what is your level of interest? What is your hesitation? And then we go from there. So it's the same kind of thing. And one of the key things is starting at the beginning. It's not really that important if it's starting at the beginning of the OP. If you ever watch my video, my first question in my video, even though I'm just talking to nobody, is, you know, why are you interested enough to hear about Premier? And what is your hesitation? And whenever you're doing an OP, that's the most important question that you ask, is that you actually want to know what their objection is before you even start. Because if it's money through the whole thing, you're gonna weave through the money she's making, and that's not very expensive. You're gonna focus on that. If it's time, you're gonna stress how it doesn't take a lot of time, and here's how you're gonna be trained, and blah 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 blah. If it's, you know, I don't think that I can do it, you're gonna weave that through. And that is really what makes a successful OP, knowing their issues before you move on. Okay, so we're gonna talk more about objections tomorrow, but that was just sort of a little way to get your whistle all wet. Ready, Donna? I'm ready for you, Ben.
So do you want me to stop and then start again?
Yeah.